Espace Tricot podcast.
I'm Stephanie.
I'm Naomi, and Espace Tricot is a yarn store in Montreal.
And yeah, we every month to 6 weeks do a little podcast where we talk about what we're knitting, what's on our needles. And this is our summer edition 2024.
We don't always go through the summer, but this year, I don't know, we've both been around, kind of had quieter seasons, not traveling so much, and we've just wanted to hop on and keep hanging out with all of you.
Yeah, often, I know we've talked about this before, but sometimes with how busy it is running the store together, these days where we get together to do the podcast and the store is closed are actually when we get to catch up on what we've been working on, because it's all sort of so busy. So we're really looking forward to also just hearing about what each other have been working on and see some nice FOs, finished objects.
We have a few this episode, so we're going to tackle those first and then move on to what we're working on. And then also, because we're a store, we have lots of goodies, and we've restocked on a few really fun things that we know are long fan favorites, and we've got some kits to show you, and just all sorts of inspiration.
Okay, well, I'll start with my sort of... Are we going to start finished objects, or do you want to do what we're wearing?
What we're wearing.
Okay, what we're wearing. We'll do what we're wearing
we usually start with.
Yes.
So that's on my mind because this isn't a new finished object.
And neither is
for me,
this.
and neither is this.
Okay.
Tell me about yours.
Okay, so I am wearing the Cancun Lacy Boxy. Boxy Lacy? Hang on, I have a little thing. The Cancun...
I thought it was a Cancun
Boxy lace top. Thank you. That's it. Cancun Boxy Lace Top by E. Kate Archer. And this has been a store sample here for years. This is in our Petit Plus, which is our sport weight linen that we have spun for us each summer. And I'm wearing it over like my extremely hot day uniform, which is a black jersey dress and sneakers. It's just like the easiest thing because I'm walking around a lot in the summer. I'm taking my kid to summer camp and then I'm walking over here. So I came in without it because it's super hot, but now that I'm in the sweet, sweet air conditioning, I decided to throw it on. So this took 2 skeins of our Petit Plus, which, as I said, is their heavier weight. So if it's something you're interested in making, you just need 2 skeins.
And it's almost like a recipe, really. It would be a really fun thing to practice if you're getting used to lace knitting, or if you've just been knitting lace for years and you want something sort of super rhythmic and simple to follow. I believe, I haven't read the instructions in a while, but I think it's sort of a little bit mix and match. You can really make it your own with the different motifs.
Lots of different cool things. But I find that it's still like subtle enough that it doesn't feel like I'm wearing a sampler, you know? It feels like I'm wearing a garment.
It does. Yeah. It's really pulled together thoughtfully. Yeah. Always gets a lot of attention, keeps coming back year after year.
Yeah. So that's it. That's, I'm very comfortable.
Perfect.
Yeah. What about you?
I threw this on mostly to have something to wear. I was out and about walking around and getting lunch and stuff, and I still haven't really cooled down despite the AC, so I don't know how long this will stay on me. Plus I have some samples to try on for all of you, so we'll see. It's really sort of t-shirt weather for me right now. But this is the Scout Mini by Florence Sperling, and I knit this as a store sample at least last year.
Yeah.
I figured out how to tie it, so I'll undo it. I can figure it out. Tie it again. Speaking of sort of sampler effect and motifs coming together, this is one of the most satisfying projects I've ever both worked on and finished and worn. It is just a totally beautiful celebration of color and pattern influenced by old quilts, and it just comes together so beautifully with 4 colors, is that right? 5 colors: white, blue, camel, pink, and green.
Yeah.
But the impact is like outsized in comparison.
I know we talked about it when it was a finished object, but if you're seeing it for the first time, it's a combination of sort of, it's intarsia and stranded knitting, sort of both techniques at once.
So in a few panels, you've got 4 or 5 colors going on maximum. I'm actually not sure that any section has 5 colors, but you do have the borders of their own little intarsia section too. This was the first intarsia project I took on after practicing on some hand warmer, some mittens, which is actually a design of ours, what did I call them? Angular Sky mittens, which later influenced one of the patterns in our book. But in between the mittens and the scarf, I made this, and it basically, once you get the hang of intarsia, it doesn't really matter what you're using intarsia for. The actual technique of wrapping the yarns around each other this is not a tutorial. Have a look on YouTube.
This
is a
isn't how you
tutorial.
do
This is
it.
not how you do it. But once you get the hang of it on a small project, I promise you, this kind of thing is not like exponentially harder than, say, a 2-color join vertically, for example.
Well, and I know what you said is like you had to focus on it. It has a lot of charts. You really had to keep going, like really mark where you were. But the size of it is very nice in that like it's a very achievable thing to push your technique on.
Absolutely, and it's worked from tip to tip. So you're working it vertically like this, and as soon as you reach the widest point, then you start decreasing. So you really have a lot of momentum in it. I found it so motivating to see each design emerge. But I would sit down in daylight with all of my colors around me and really dedicate for when I had like at least an hour of uninterrupted knitting time. And because I was knitting it in the winter, it took longer than usual because by the time
You get home, there's
I
no
would
sunlight.
leave the house before it got light, and I'd come home after it got dark. So those were sort of the practical considerations that made this take a long time. In terms of the actual knitting, I found it a pleasure, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's like such a stunning finished thing to have and to be able to wear.
We've had kits in the past. I'll take a look actually. It might be worth, if you're interested in kits, let me know.
Yeah,
I'll see if we can
comment
make
below
any.
if you are interested in a kit. And also, I
yes,
wouldn't be
I'll-
surprised if some of the people watching still have a kit. This is
Maybe.
your sign to crack open that kit.
Maybe. So this is the Knitting for Olive Merino that I used in the colors, I believe, along the lines of Dusty Aqua or Dusty Artichoke, Caramel, Putty, Dusty Petroleum Blue, and Flamingo. Something like that.
That was impressive.
It's the Dusties that I'm not
Yeah,
sure
yeah.
about.
I think you're right, though. I think you're absolutely right.
But I'm pretty sure it's Putty. I'm pretty sure it's Caramel. I know it was Flamingo, Dusty Artichoke, and Dusty Petroleum Blue, I believe.
So last podcast, I mentioned that I had this shawl that I had finished, but I wasn't really sure if I was going to release it. And a number of you took the time to write in the comments of the last video, either that you wanted me to release it or that you wanted to test it. So I invited people to email me to test, and I had an amazing group of testers, and we did it. We tested the shawl, and it just got released. So this is officially the Mirka shawl. Mirka. It's named for Roger Federer's wife, who was apparently the inspiration for Tashi Duncan in Challenger. So there's big tennis mood going on here. I won't repeat everything I said last time, only to say thank you so much for the encouragement. I definitely needed it. Like, I don't know, like sometimes you make something, you're like, I don't know what I think. Either like one day I would love it, and then other days I'd be like, why did I do this? I think because it is different, and it's a little bit like strange to do a sporty shawl. But the fact that you guys responded to it the way you did, I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. Of course I have, like, it's done. I just have to get it through testing. And then in the testing group, the enthusiasm, some people were finished before I had even I sent the instructions, and like 2 days later, I was like, here it is. And that made me feel so good that like somebody was that excited to make it. Also, my testers, thank you. You guys found some really good stuff that I was able to fix before releasing it. Anyways, it was just, I really want to say you all made this happen, got this out, and it's a hit. Like, it's been doing great on Ravelry. We sold out of our first batch of kits. We just restocked them. They're already flying. So if for some reason by the time you're watching this, they aren't in stock, it means we have more yarn on the way. We're going to keep them in stock as long as you guys are interested.
Click that notify me button and you will get an email as soon as it goes out. And this is in the Jody Long Coastline, which is I think probably a new yarn for a lot of people who are trying this.
Yeah.
Not super widely available, but a real instant coup de coeur, crush when we received
When we felt it, yeah.
Bouncy sweatshirt feel, and such a perfect match of yarn texture and design.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah,
Like
they belong together.
You really
Of course, you
nailed
can do it in
with-
something else, but I think that there is something about the combination of this where it really is like form and function going together.
And I think that's why it's hit so well, because even in photos you can tell that this is the right yarn for this design.
Yeah.
There are ways that you can see even in photos and video that fabrics are falling and draping, and it comes across so well.
It's just so
I'm
cute.
proud of you.
Like, I want to be at Wimbledon with this
Yeah.
on. So funny story, like when we did all the photographs, and then I realized that like there was this picture of it like this on our mannequin that would be like really easy to cut out and just put on Zendaya. So I found the perfect picture of Zendaya like on the Challengers press tour, and I put it on her. So we have that photo on the Ravelry pattern page if you want to see it, and Naomi posted it on Instagram.
It totally works because her style in that whole press tour was obviously like
tennis core
themed, tennis core, very much having a moment in the micro trend cycle right now. But at the same time, this is just so classic. You don't need me to tell you that it's going to go beyond the micro trend of tennis core this summer with the Challenges movie. You will be wearing this constantly.
It feels it's very yacht club too, or even like basketball. Like it's sporty. It's just got this
cricket.
Yeah,
Somebody
cricket,
was like, you
golf.
need a cricket shawl. We're like, yes, absolutely, it's a cricket shawl.
So a couple people were actually fooled by my Zendaya Photoshop, which I was surprised by because I didn't think that I had done that good of a job. But maybe
your Photoshop,
maybe my Photoshop skills
were great. What surprised me about that a little bit is like, oh wow, you really thought that we
got Zendaya. If anybody out there knows Zendaya, please let her know about this.
We'll make her one if she likes it. We'll send it to her.
So have a look, and for kits, if you're interested, and also the pattern is a free one on Ravelry, so you can add it to your library, download it, have a read through it, whatever you want to do to see if it's something that you're interested in making. And again, thank you to all of you who are watching. Thank you to my testers. You definitely, you gassed me up. You made me excited.
I guess this segues really nicely into my next finished object, which I haven't yet shown on the podcast. I don't think even as a whip, because it kind of flew off my needles in the spring, and then again I wasn't really sure what to do with it. So without further ado, I'll talk a bit more about it when I'm wearing it. Ooh,
you want to do that? Okay, let's snap. 3, 2, 1.
So this is the Trixie Sweater, and this is a new design that I am planning to release in the autumn. So here it is. It's boxy, oversized. I'm wearing the 51.5 inch, and there are 7 sizes, so there's one smaller and a bunch bigger. And I kind of just winged it on this one and wanted something that would bring 3 colors together really well. And I sort of just, as I went along, was like, okay, now let's do a split hem. Let's do, oh, you know what? I remembered that trick that you have for 2x2 rib, and I really wanted to practice that.
Oh yeah, the video that we did.
The bold balance of the 2x2 rib would work really nicely on a bigger, boxier silhouette. And then I was trying to figure out how to stripe on the cuffs, and then this like kind of corrugated rib thing turned out really fun, and I'm just really happy with this sort of like build your own adventure type sweater.
Well, it's interesting because I found as soon as you brought it in, what I really notice about it is I find it's very architectural, which is very designy. You know, it makes me think of like very high-end designers, and I feel like it's definitely you pushing yourself. It's still very very much a Naomi design. I would recognize it as being you, but it's like elevated to the next level.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I definitely did try a few things and rip back a little bit, but it came together really smoothly. I knew I wanted the 1x1 stripe for starters. I knew I wanted to go with that. And then I did a little bit of the yarn wrapping, you know, around cardboard, where I wrapped the colors around each other and just played with that. And I wanted the even blocks, but it's going to be a really simple template for you to make it your own when it's released. In terms of the next one I want to do, I'd love to use my hand spun through it.
That would be beautiful. What a great way to use hand spun.
Or any color changing yarn, or and I already have ideas of maybe knitting it plain and just taking advantage of the structure. So the test knit call went out in our newsletter a little while back. So if you are seeing this now for the first time and didn't catch it in the newsletter, well, for starters, if you're interested in test knitting calls, sign up for our newsletter as well, because that is generally where we send them out first. It's a more flexible schedule than the podcast, which we do a little bit more like monthly. If you think you might need a little bit more time, but you're still really interested, I'd still love to hear from you. So please do, if you're interested at all in testing this, check it out. A lot more information at the link below. And it's a DK weight, but knit quite loosely at 19 stitches. I used our Jolly DK, which, because it's a sort of lofty woolly 2-ply untreated, it really blooms up beautifully to 19 stitches. This would be great in a worsted weight, in those sort of wonky sport DKs that I spin. I don't know about any of you. I think also double Sunday.
I love this color combination. That's really beautiful.
I went through and found these 38-21, catchy, 35-35, 23-45, and 80-82. These just jumped to my eyes. I swatched some leftovers we had, a double Sunday at 19 stitches, and I really like the fabric for it. Light, but not see-through or floppy.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, it's beautiful.
So yeah, there are more photos as well in the link below to help you decide whether to make your choice, as well as all the sizes. And yeah, again, would love to hear from you, and I'll be in touch by email.
So I know you mentioned to me that you wanted to talk about this, so I'll do it like an interview.
Okay.
Tell me about your tech editing experience with this sweater.
Yeah. So we did something a little, I don't know about unusual. You've been in touch with this person before, but basically I went to a professional grader to look over where my starting point. When I write patterns, I tend to, as many of us do, knit a size all the way through as the design process. But at the same time as I'm doing that, I always have spreadsheets open where I'm like mapping out all the other sizes around it at the same time as I'm knitting it. So I'd done all that, but at the same time, this is a new construction for me. And there's a lot going on with like different types of recommended positive ease and things like that.
Well, I know it's just the stripe sequence, right? It's like making the decision about like, does the stripe sequence change as you get bigger, or do you really want them to be the same? There was a lot of discussion about like, well, how do you approach grading something with so many moving things? Yeah.
So basically I went back and forth with a professional grader on this, and hopefully, that's giving me a lot of confidence that there's already been another really strong set of eyes on this, and obviously the next step in that is seeing it knitted up in the different sizes and seeing how successful that is. So that's a big part of the process that I'm really interested to figure out, and which is new for me because I haven't designed this kind of
like the drop, like the contiguous drop shoulder.
I went back to Steph's channel sweater a lot to see how you've not only the dimensions that you were working with, but also how you communicated those instructions.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's such a different gauge too, and doesn't have the stripes in it and whatever. I definitely would do what you did. In fact, like, so Dawn, who did the grading, like she did some work for me when I had I did a collection for Austell Uruguay, and I put in a couple of set-in sleeves, which I mean, I basically was like winging it. It was like, this fits. But I really did not know how to grade a set-in sleeve. And I read everything about it and I tried it. And then I just was like, this is too important for this to be wrong. So that's where I asked for help from the people at the Manos who were helping me with the collection for a recommendation. And they came up with Dawn's name, and she's been amazing.
And that's the fascinating part for me of the indie design process. There's a lot, and so far, pretty much everything I've designed has been just me with obviously crowdsourcing among the team, samples, or just sort of, what do you think of this sleeve and how should these dimensions work, and what do you think of this decrease ratio and that sort of thing, and a lot of swatching. And that's absolutely always part of the design process. But also just realizing how many people and resources are out there to help you and to connect with as a small designer. It can feel maybe overwhelming to think that what might be holding you back from a really good design that you love might be feeling like that it's your own skill and your own confidence in the grading, which is so important because that's how it's going to fit people, and that people are going to put all this time and energy and love into making these things. And so I have a lot of thoughts on this, and it's been a really great process. I'm glad I went to somebody else for it and brought her into the process. I think is
well, I think also, like, as a designer, just like, this is a little inside baseball, you learn so much from it, right? Like the first time that I worked with Dawn and she did the grading, like I poured over the results I got from her to try and understand how she'd done it and why she chose what she chose. And I still don't think that I would necessarily grade a set-in sleeve myself, but I would certainly go back and look at how she managed it to see if I was at least a little bit closer to understanding how and why the sleeve cap changes and how that fits in. You learn from each time and you get more confident, but I think there's nothing wrong with going and getting help from an expert.
Oh, absolutely. And just figuring out how to communicate with them from my draft, sending that to somebody else. It's sort of why obviously tech editing is so important too. It's getting it out of your own head and out of your own wording into somebody else's comprehension and making sure that travels through.
So definitely, if this interests you, get on the test. If you're not a tester, but you're interested in this sweater, obviously keep your eyes on this space when this gets released. Hopefully, what are we thinking?
Aiming sort of end September, early October maybe. Depends also, you know, like the testing process will wrap up around about late September. I forget exactly the date that I have in there right now. That could extend if knitters need it, but also like depending on the feedback, I don't want to promise that I'm going to publish the pattern as soon as the testers wrap up, because there may be things that I need to integrate based on their feedback. So don't have a release date yet, but more information at the link below, and the general release will be in around about end of September, early October, current plan.
Okay, amazing. What else is on our list?
So there's one more finished object.
Right.
Should I model that too?
Yes, let's do it. Okay. Are we gonna snap for this?
I guess so.
I may as well snap. Ooh.
Ooh, now we're both in black. I like it.
Très sophistiqué.
This is the gingerbread sweater. Was it my first design when we took over?
Maybe. Was it before the warm-up sweater?
Yes,
Yeah,
it was.
okay, then it might be,
this was, because I was modeling this that first time I went back to England after the pandemic.
Okay.
So it was right at the beginning of our career as LYS owners. Has a special place in my heart. It is a boxy raglan, cropped like most of my things, but you can knit it as long as you want, really, because it's top down. And this version is in the Yarn Citizen Trinity cashmere with Loch Lomond lace from BC Garn. So we've talked about this pattern before. It's a boxy top-down staple raglan with like slight balloon cuff, trims and details and all sorts of things that I talked about a lot before. The reason we made another one is because it's such a timeless design to showcase such a luxurious yarn combination.
Well, and the original was knit in Knitting for Olive Merino and Camarose's Midnight Soul. And so Midnight Soul, like Trinity Cashmere, is sort of an alternative to mohair. So some people can't wear mohair. Some people are just looking for something different. So what's nice is that even though this is a new sample, it still kind of harkens back to that original purpose, which was to show something with some fuzz and some halo that isn't mohair. So I know with black, it can be a little bit tough to see on your screen to get that sense of texture. But the reason we chose this sort of dark charcoal, almost black, is because it is so classic. We really wanted, like, this is something that you could knit and wear forever. It will be completely timeless. It will survive every trend. So that's why we wanted to show it in such a good classic neutral, goes in every wardrobe.
I'm picking the Loch Lomond, which again, we fairly recently got into the store. It's light as well, like the original sample used Knitting for Olive Merino, which is a light fingering, and so is this, and it does have this beautiful heathering effect similar to the original as well.
And this one is it's a single ply as well, and so it will bloom quite a bit. I would say it's a light fingering or a heavier lace. It's in that 600 meters for 100 gram vibe. But I think the blooming factor is big with this one.
Yes.
More so than with the Knitting for Olive.
And the cashmere does not hold that factor back too. It really lets it, and it's a looser gauge that lets it breathe and bloom too. It's 21 stitches in 4 inches. And so some of the colors of this are more tweedy than others. I think we did speak about it last time, but this was still in progress. So now you've got the finished one. So this is the color denim, and it does have a little bit more of the heathering colors in it. And then this does what every good tweed that I really love does, which is it shakes up the colors in the tweed based on the base color. So here there's a little bit more sort of tan and yellow coming through, and this is more sort of classic reds and blues. This red too is sort of, again, the inverse of that one, the base of red and then little shots of blue running through. So it really is subtle, but would come through beautifully when stranded.
There's a purple combo in there that I really like. So yeah, if we hadn't done the black or the dark charcoal, this is something I would have been keen on.
Tweed.
And I think that the way that this is colors called heather, and this one is called baby pink, I think, which is not quite accurate, but it's definitely got more.
It's
got more purple in
bubblegum
it, yeah.
vibe.
But I think together they would definitely work beautifully and make it a little bit more subtle, elegant, really beautiful.
Yeah.
So we didn't kit this because
We have
there's so many different variations for sizes,
sizes,
how many you would need. But if you have any questions about how many do I need for my size, just ask us. We'd be happy to put something together for you. And also try and help pair colors. When we've chosen what we think would work here, not every color of the Loch Lomond has a corollary but you know, we can always help put something together.
And it depends how much mottling you'd like to do as well. I kind of picked out these. They look slightly closer over on the shelf than they do here, but I think that's kind of interesting. This is sort of on the more neutral side.
Yeah.
And this looked creamier. It's a bit more of a popcorn buttery yellow, but you know, I wouldn't have picked them necessarily in daylight, but I'm seeing them in the basket beside me. I'm like, hang on, why not?
Yeah, I think it would be pretty subtle.
What I like to do with any stranding yarn is twist with, and this isn't going to come through very well on the computer, but try it at home with your stash. Twist them together. Hold two strands together and just twist. And that'll give you a little bit of an idea, like to barber pole them, about how they're going to play with each other. And I quite like that.
Yeah, because so if you can really still see the two colors, you know you're looking at more of a marl.
Yeah.
Whereas if you kind of can't see where one begins and where the other ends, then you're going to get a much more sort of like a solid effect with, more of a haze of the two colors. It's a classic LYS trick. So yeah, if as I say, if you want help picking out, if you need help with your yardages, just get in touch with us. We'd be happy to help. And but you were also mentioning, I mean, this at 21 stitches, DK. If you don't want a strand, DK is what you want to make this sweater.
Yeah, we've had customers make the gingerbread in the Jolly DK. Would work really well in the sandness that I still have to hand here. Just a really flexible pattern design. And if you want it and you're buying anything, just leave a note at checkout that you'd like the gingerbread pattern. We'll toss it in with your order printed copy.
Exactly.
Or if you leave your Ravelry username, we can send you a copy on Ravelry too. Can we do that?
We send it as a
copy.
gift, and so it turns up in your library and says like Espace Tricot has sent you a gift.
That'll be our pleasure.
Yeah.
So this is a test knit. I don't do test knits very often, mostly because I don't like putting the pressure on myself to finish when so much is going on at the store and I never know what's going to pop up or need to jump on the needles next or whatever.
It's like a shame for all the designers out there, I feel, because you are like one of the fastest guns in the West when it comes to knitting. Like
only if I focus on one project. Even this I have not been monogamously knitting, this one, and the deadline is next week, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna finish by then because I'm really stuck into it now that I'm seeing the finish line. This is the Austell Tee by the Knit Pearl Girl, who has quite an impressive library of simple looking but very thoughtful detail. You know, we love that combination. A lot of drop shoulder, a lot of oversized, and really thoughtful uses of color and texture too. So as soon as this call popped up on Instagram, I was like, ooh, do I? Don't I? But it was such a generous amount of time for the test knit. Talking back in May, this was getting set up. Move my chair a little closer.
Yeah.
So lots of people have finished already, and the hashtag Austell Tee on Instagram, I'm seeing some really beautiful projects in there too, which are motivating me to finish. So this is a mesh tee, which will have a polo neck collar. So those two design features really drew my eye to it. Basically, again, like features that are really trending right now in fashion generally, that I'm starting to see come into knitwear, but that I also feel will be pretty timeless for my personal wardrobe. So follow along, as the next part I do will be the collar reveal, so it'll probably be on Instagram soon. I'll show you what it looks like then. I'm doing it a little shorter than she modeled it, again just to work with my wardrobe, and it's top down, so that's easy to do. And I'm about almost finished the front panel, this little folded hem, and then I've got the sleeves to go.
Short sleeve?
Short sleeve.
Okay.
But I'll do the collar first, and this is a trick I did with the macaron cardigan as well. Do the collar before you do the sleeves. Do the button band before you do the sleeves, because that's going to show you how it's going to actually fit. Because right now this is so wide, and it will like in once the collar's attached.
Yeah, so then knowing where you want that sleeve to hit,
Exactly.
it's going to make a lot more sense when the neck part is finished.
Which is more important with a long sleeve than a short, but still. So yeah, I'm really excited about it, and the texture is so interesting. I'm knitting in the yarns she recommends, which are Knitting for Olive, Merino, and Pure Silk held together.
So this is the Merino.
And this is the silk.
And this is the silk. So just and it's interesting having it even sort of down in the box. I feel like you see it, the texture better when there's a little bit used up. So you can really see the difference in the way that the silk is picking up the light coming in from the left here, like how shiny it is, even though it's a barrette silk that's not super duper shiny.
And it's adding a little crunch to the texture too. And it's knitting up, it feels lighter still than a worsted weight would, for example, which I think is so appropriate for like a summery mesh tee, which will already have to be layered over something. So it's a 15 stitch gauge in the mesh, and I'm using a 5mm needle, so it's zooming by. And if you're interested in this slightly beyond beginner, like ambitious beginner to confident intermediate, in terms of just being able to read your lace as you go, to be able to follow the pattern of it, which I don't find I need charts or like to read every line of the pattern. Like, it flows really well, sense. But it's going to help if you can read where your knit two togethers in your yarn overs are, basis for any lace project. So that's that. I won't bother trying it on yet because the neck is so is completely undone.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with it so far.
It looks great.
I don't think the fabric's going to change much besides opening out a little bit when I block it.
Yeah.
Because it's stable fabric. So
this color is poppy blue, which is always super popular at this time of year.
And there are a few colors in Knitting for Olive, Merino and Silk that are like the same color name across the bases, but some of the color names are quite different. So I picked out more that are just very similar. That might have a little bit more of a marl to it. This is Cherry Blossom and Cherry Blossom and Ballerina. And then I actually probably would have picked black for this if we'd had this in stock at the time. Licorice in Merino and Coal in Pure Silk. I think it would be fantastic in black.
I mean, similar to this, right? Where you can wear it with everything.
But I do have a lot of this blue in my wardrobe, and I think it's a bold enough blue to go with denim as well.
Yeah.
And white.
Yeah.
White pants. Maybe that's my excuse to get some white pants.
You know, sometimes you gotta fill in the wardrobe to work with your knits. I try to go the opposite way, but it doesn't always work. Yeah, this is gorgeous.
If you have these yarns in your stash, how I decided that this would be a successful fabric is I swatched two random colors that we had in stash, and the effect was awful. Like, it was
the two colors
that I picked. It was like a really off-putting marl. I don't know. It's not like there are any off-putting colors in the range. I love Knitting for Olive colors. I'll be the first to rave about them. There was something about these two that I put together. It was like an orange and then like a darker. I think it was caramel. I think it was caramel from this.
Like a brownie, but they were not from the same world.
Not at all. It was really interesting.
Like, oh wow, you can take those two beautiful things and make them not beautiful.
But I swatched leftovers, and that's how I realized that the gauge was going to be super achievable. I really love that she gave the gauge in stockinette and mesh, so I just swatched in stockinette even though I didn't know the mesh pattern. And I really liked the fabric. So I did that little bit of homework based on her information before I applied to do the test. And
I think that's
really smart that she did that she gave that info.
One thing that I do wish more designers would do on that initial little Instagram thing where they're like, this is going to go into test soon, is a gauge. It's a lot of time I'm like, ooh, is that DK? Or is that, because I'm thinking about a specific yarn immediately, but I can't tell from the little hint photo that doesn't have the whole thing, like what gauge it is. I would love to see that more, because that would make a big difference in me going like, yes.
Yeah.
I don't think most designers are like just waiting for me to say yes or anything.
Well, a lot of stuff came together to really impress me in this test, like providing enough information before I even applied to decide if I wanted to do it. And it's just, lucky, I guess, or I guess it makes sense because it's the yarn store that we had these two left over that I was able to swatch.
Yeah.
But between really liking that hyper-specific but very interesting new fabric to me, and
and it's a shape you want, and I know that you were looking for a polo collar.
Exactly. And then seeing that really great long timeline for it, just everything came together to really enjoy it for me. So it's like, wait, am I going to succeed in a test knit?
Well, it's probably really good for us at a time when we're investing in more testing as designers.
Yes.
To also be participating in tests, because you learn from that side of it too.
Yeah,
like, what can we provide that would help make them more appealing or hit that person at the right spot where they're like, yes, ready to say yes, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really good that you're doing it right at this moment.
And I love having a sample ready when a pattern launches.
Oh yeah.
It really helps.
Because then it's like so easy for us to also talk about that pattern when it hits, right? We have the experience of having knit it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm really looking forward to seeing that.
Soon, I imagine. I think I'll have quite a bit of knitting time for it this weekend.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have a tiny, tiny little whip.
Let's take a look.
Okay.
Let's take a teeny tiny little look.
So we had like a little mini event, almost 2 weeks ago? A week and a half?
By the time this
Goes,
comes
yeah,
out,
2
it'll
weeks.
have been 2 weeks, yes.
So this group in Montreal called the Montreal Crochet Club reached out to us about partnering up for an event. So basically we just hosted a night for them here at the store. And, you know, just Naomi and I hung out and stayed late on a Friday and met all these amazing crocheters who've come together through this group. And so everyone was crocheting, which I like kind of know a little bit. Like I've crocheted some edgings and I've done some embroidery on knits with crochet, but I'd never really gone all the way in. And I just found the group very inspiring, and I decided to try and do some crochet. So this is what I have so far. Just one little flower.
So cool.
So this is part of a bigger project called Crojo Retro by the Mercery. So this is a UK-based sort of designer. So it's not La Mercery, which is a shop. It's the Mercery, and the website is mercery.co.uk. I believe Susan is the name of the designer. And it seems that this project, which includes these flowers and also some really beautiful leaves as well that then get all put together in a blanket, was a freebie that she did through the pandemic, through the lockdown, I should say. The pandemic is sort of ongoing. And so each section has a dedicated video, so I've been able to follow along with the video. It also is written and charted, so I'm learning all of these things at once.
I'm so impressed that you're following a crochet chart.
I think as a very visually learning person, I'm really relieved to have it. I'm still looking at the instructions and the chart and going back and forth, but I can see how it's going to gel for me really quickly. So yeah, this is about like the work of an afternoon.
It's so fun and 3D and textured, like the little nips and everything.
Yeah.
So cute.
I don't,
so impressive.
My plan is to actually make it a scarf because I don't think I'm a blanket person. I've tried to finish blankets and it's never happened. So
That's a lot of time and a lot of yarn too.
Yeah. So I'm using leftovers. The background color, I'm going to use this brown that is our Jody Long Alba.
It's right behind me.
Yeah, so it's also a bit like the Loch Lomond. It's got some
nice Loch
tweed,
Lomond,
but it's a DK weight.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my background. And then I'm also just throwing in bits and bobs of Ulysse, which is a very similar gauge and ply. So they're really quite seamless together. In fact, when we brought in the Jody Long, we thought it would go really well. Like for color work, they just added another palette that you could choose from.
It absolutely does.
And, you know, we've got, between us and the store, I probably have like, I don't know, 20 colors of this in various amounts that I can just draw on. And so I'm just keep going. These are my 2 little bits that I have so far for my leaves. I have to make 7 of these, and then they get taken into like a leaf thing. Anyways, so what I didn't finish about the Crojo Retro is that it's totally free if you sign up for the newsletter. So that's what I did. And you get an email that says, okay, if you want to register for this like sort of online class that's pre-recorded. So that's how I'm accessing the pattern, and those are the videos that I'm following. So if you're inspired to try it, go for it. And also I will say all of her designs are quite magnificent.
They're really cool. They're doing things with crochet that I haven't really seen before.
I think it's it's a gift with color.
Yeah.
When I actually started zooming in and looking, I was like, okay, is this that different? I think it's all like, if you're already into crochet, I don't think it's anything you haven't seen, but I think she has a gift with color.
And just like the way you put different, even if you've done these stitches before,
the way you put them
so
together.
much of a design is how you put those stitches together and how you manifest them and how they interact with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited to keep going on this, but I think it'll be, you know, a bit of a slow burn. We'll see. One thing I think that I'm struggling with crochet a little bit is that like I finished that flower and I get this feeling of being finished.
And you got to
and then I tuck it away, and now it's like, oh, I have to start again. And it's just a different rhythm than I'm used to, so I think I have to get into it.
But at the same time, they are small, little, manageable, and especially portable little mini projects all in one. So.
It's just a matter, it's that getting over that starting over part where I'm like, oh, but I just finished it.
I did end up turning a cardigan into a sweater vest.
So yeah, you know where I'm coming from.
Granny squares, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on at the moment, along with some, you know, as usual, some secret colorwork knitting that isn't in any stage show. So that's it. Yeah. Okay, and I think we have some things restocked that we've been waiting for.
Yes, we haven't had these in a little while, and now seeing all of the colors restocked again is such a
I know, they're
thrill
so pretty.
and a bounty. It's so pretty on the shelves. Our Petite Pochettes. Many of you will have seen these over the years. Maybe you have one or two. I certainly need another one because I've had mine for maybe like coming up on 6 years or something, and it's only just starting to
Show a little bit at the
show
corners.
wear because I've been tossing this in and out of my knitting bags for years. It goes with me everywhere. These are handmade for us in Montreal by Jocelyn, and it's basically her design, and they're so clever. They open up completely flat, they will stay flat, and they have a lining so that nothing falls out. So when you zip them up, your little crochet hooks and stitch markers and bits and bobs and all sorts will not fall out, even if it does come unzipped, which it probably won't because it's a good zip.
Jocelyn would not allow it to come unzipped. That is not how she rolls.
And they all have a little D-ring so you can attach them to your knitting bag. This is our Grande Pochette, which you should also talk about.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
so the Petite Pochette we've had in the linen colors for years, but recently we've started playing around with doing sort of special editions. So we did a special edition in this fabric by Bookhou, by Aruna. And so we had the petites before, but we didn't have, oh no, I know what it is. We didn't do the grands in these fabrics, but we decided to go ahead and use up everything we had left and do some new Grande Pochettes in this feather fabric. So we have it in this sort of pink color with a sort of brick print on top of it. And then we have a black and white as well. So
mix and match so nicely together. And also with the other colors.
Yeah, they absolutely can go here as well. So these Grande Pochettes, we worked with Jocelyn to design a few years ago. So they have a boxed bottom, so they can stand once they have stuff in them. They have a full zipper closure, so they're not so much a bucket, although you can turn them over and operate out of them as if it's a bucket by sort of doing this.
I'll do it with this one.
Yeah.
And then you can tuck the zip away, and there's absolutely no chance the yarn is getting caught, for example. You can have it sitting beside you like that, and you're going to be able to move freely there.
But what I really like about it is that, you know, if you've got less than the full bag, and it's really easy for it to fold over and it gets shoved in your whatever other bag you've got really easily. And it's about the right size it's definitely great for a shawl, for sleeves. I find that once I'm on my second sleeve of a sweater, it starts to outgrow this.
Yeah.
But I find it's a really convenient size for a wide range of projects.
Sort of a 200 to 300 gram project.
Yeah, maybe even 4.
Well,
a shawl, like a fingering weight shawl.
yeah, I guess
sure.
it's that what you're saying about by the time you've knitted
Yeah.
through it, this will hold 400 skeins of yarn easily. 400 skeins of yarn.
That'd be a great bag. That's the bag I want.
Mary Poppins bag. It will hold 4 skeins, 100 grams. Easily. But when you're turning that into a project, then it starts to get, all over the place. But
so there you go. Those are restocked, and we're very happy to have them. And so usually Jocelyn will come into the store and bring them by and then do a little shopping. But this time she invited us to go out to her place and pick them up and have lunch with her. And
lovely meal.
She made us a beautiful meal, and we sat on her back deck, and she set out our lovely meal, and then she set out a little bowl of peanuts and explained to us that she has befriended a local chipmunk who is named Charlotte, and that if we were chill, that probably Charlotte would come up to the table and take a few nuts and then scamper off. And boy, did she ever, and it was so cute. So Charlotte was the 4th person at the table, and it was or 4th creature at the table every now and again, and it was totally adorable, and it felt like we were in a little Disney moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was magical.
Total Sleeping Beauty moment.
It was a lovely way to spend the afternoon.
These
they're bricks.
tomes, they are bricks. They contain so much information, so beautifully presented. These are tomes 2 and 3 of this fantastic series on Estonian knitting. Number 1, keep selling out. So keep continuing to click notify me if you want episode 1. We'll try to bring it back in, but it is the sort of thing that we don't always keep a huge amount of them in stock, but we really love to respond when we see that people want these. We will always try to get them in because we love to have them. But these a little better than I do. Do you want to walk them
So
through?
basically this is a series that's being produced by the Restocked Museum. I hope I said that right. It's a museum that in Estonia. And so inside these books, there's obviously a beginning section with a lot of technique and patterns and explanations of where things come from. But for example, this is the mitten book. This section is the historical mitten section. So what it does is actually feature a photograph of an original museum piece, so a preserved piece, and then a fresh new photograph of the design. And so they've been sort of translated into something you can knit now, but also mentions sort of where they come from and shows these incredible photographs. Here's one, for example, where you can see that the thumb was repaired and a slightly different color. So I feel like there's a sense of being connected to the historical meaning of these pieces and all the knitters that came before that created these things.
And sometimes they even have archival photos of people wearing.
Or the knitters sometimes. Or the knitters too.
Yeah. Book 2 is socks and stockings. And a lot of the techniques in Estonia are so regionally focused. And so a lot of these, it will go through exactly which parish these stockings or mittens have come from, because things are so indicative of geographic region.
Yeah, so if this is something that interests you, you really can't do better in terms of just a resource and something that will inspire you to flip through. But also if you like knitting in this style, sort of traditional color work, and I mean, I say traditional, but Estonian knitting is quite advanced. There's a lot of multicolored rows. The gauge is often absolutely tiny, but boy, there's nothing else quite like it.
And this book does a really fun job at modernizing the color schemes too, or just providing new takes on something if you want to just contextualize it, try something new.
Yeah.
I hesitate to sort of draw this line between traditional and modern with these things, because all of these techniques never stopped.
Well, and you think about Alex Bird's book, right?
Yeah.
The Traditions Revisited by Alex Bird that we had in stock for ages. Mm-hmm. I think we may have one copy left at the moment, where she's a designer who's drawing on her Estonian roots and definitely finding ways to incorporate these things in a very modern way.
Yeah.
But anyway,
a lot of the traditional stuff, what's the difference between traditional and modern?
It's just like it's putting it on a top-down sweater.
That's
right. That's like the way that you make it modern. Because definitely
true. A lot of it is about motifs and being put onto constructions
that are more modern
nowadays.
Yeah. But these are so much fun and just an absolutely beautiful thing to have in your library. Like it's.
Yeah, so these are, they're by 2 different authors. I hadn't noticed this. This is by Anu Pink and this is by Christy Jooste.
Yeah, I think it probably depends on your expertise, but also there is a major historical element to what they're doing in these books. And they are bricks. You can see that we're leaning them against ourselves. So these are, coffee table style.
On day.
Yeah, absolutely. The first edition is not quite as big.
Oh, yeah?
Our first volume, which is more of an overview.
Right.
And I'm really hoping that eventually there's going to be a lace edition.
Well, they say upcoming is volume 4 gloves.
Okay.
Is upcoming, but the lace would be really cool to see too.
Yeah.
So check those out.
Yeah, they don't stay in stock for long usually. They find their person and they go. But as Naomi said, if it's something you're interested in, just keep us posted and we'll keep bringing them in a couple at a time so that you can access them.
Oh, and I think apologies if you're seeing the video shaking a little bit.
It's because we put the books on the
table with our tripod.
One last thing I was going to mention was sort of just a couple of kits that we just restocked.
Oh, yeah.
This is again, changing direction completely. These are not traditional Estonian kits in any way. But thinking about sort of summer knitting and that, if you're looking for a little inspiration.
Or if you're so busy during the summer and you just want something relaxing and you want somebody else to do all the work of putting together the yarn choice and yardage quantities for you so that you can just get down to the stockinette. That's what I was thinking when I put this kit together.
So this sweater has been really popular. This is the Stripe Hype sweater by Veronica Lindberg. And this one's been all over the first page of Ravelry on and off for months.
Yeah, and then our weekend team was saying that people keep coming in and asking about it on the weekend too. And it's done, I think she has a couple different yarn choices for it. One of them could be the double Sunday, would be really great in it too. It's knit up a DK gauge, but we did put together Jolly in close approximation of the original colors.
So if you like how it looks there, basically this will give you that result. And then thinking about stripes, if you're not looking to do a sweater, this is the Antioch blanket that I designed with Amelia last summer, I think. And
2 summers ago,
maybe 2 summers ago. So this was inspired by sort of like the Turkish towel, you know, that everybody has at the pool or at the beach. So it's 100% cotton. This is knit in the
fabric.
BC Garn Alba. So we have 2 albas. This is the BC Garn Alba. It's a 100% organic cotton.
And you did such a cool little tassel.
Yeah,
on
I did
it.
the little twisted ties because I was going for that, you know, beach towel vibe. There's a little tutorial in the
Pattern has a tutorial?
yeah, well, it's like more like it's written. It's
Right,
not hard
right.
once you do
Yeah,
it. Just a super fun stripe pattern. You know, it's garter. It flies.
And this is, I mean, sort of baby blanket crib
Could be.
size, but toss this down on the grass in the park and it's a perfect little reading spot. I think.
Yeah. And I do actually think you could also, like, if you're at the splash pad or anything like that in the summer.
Do we have kits for this?
We have 1 in stock at the moment, but we
Okay.
have yarn to make more.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I see that this is starting to heat up, I'll throw together some more kits. But you could also put together your own. The pattern has this one's in our stripes.
It's in the Stripes ebook.
It's in the Stripes ebook. So
Yeah.
if you're looking for this, again, on your order, throw it in the notes. I'm looking for the Antioch blanket pattern. And but the Ravelry page does also tell you how much yarn you need. So if you want to pick your own colors, you can do that.
And if you do see the kit in stock, the pattern's in the kit.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Always. So yeah, I just thought, you know, summer stripes, little inspo.
Yeah,
So I think that's about it.
that's about it.
It's a good summer edition, I
It
think.
is. I guess we could briefly mention something we're going to talk about a little more, perhaps next episode closer to the time. But we had a really fun chat on Friday. We joined Robin from Yarnbirds at her little happy hour live chat on Instagram, which I believe she has since posted to her feed. So we'll link below. Yarnbirds, so that's birds with a Y, is a yarn truck that goes around to a bunch of festivals and markets all summer long and into the autumn. And we're going to be at Rhinebeck with Robin and her team as well.
Yes.
Not Rhinebeck official, at Cake Palooza.
Yeah.
I should say.
Yeah.
One of the ancillary events that pops up around Rhinebeck.
So the Friday before the Rhinebeck Festival, we will be with Robin and her team all day at Cake Palooza, which is in Saugerties. So we'll have yarn, we'll have books, and we'll be helping people choose projects. It's going to be super fun.
Be able to see all the samples. I really want to have Trixie launched by then. That is my absolute timing deadline, and I'll be wearing it there. So we'll have a little bit more, I guess, sort of just details and road to Rhinebeck type content in the next couple episodes as we start to prepare our wardrobes.
And that's actually, I'll shout this out. If you are thinking of commenting, I'd love to know, are you thinking about Rhinebeck? Are you going? Are you planning a sweater? What are you thinking about knitting? Because I haven't figured out what I'm going to knit yet quite.
Ooh, you need some ideas.
I mean, I have some ideas, but I'm kind of curious what everyone else is thinking. So I'd love to see, where your heads are at regarding going to Rhinebeck and what you're going to wear.
And if you're new to yarn events in general, Rhinebeck is the nickname for the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, which happens in October every year, usually either the weekend after Canadian Thanksgiving or the weekend after that. Like in between Canadian Thanksgiving and Halloween.
Yes.
I forget the exact dates this year. It's easy to Google.
I'll put them on the screen when I'm
and
editing
it's
this.
in upstate New York, and it is a party. It is a great, fun time to meet fiber friends.
Yeah, and see
of
incredible
all
knitwear.
crafts and lots of sheep too.
Yeah, that's right.
And the alpaca parade and all sorts of the fun of the fair. I love the American fairground food. Is very like kind of touristy for me.
Yeah, it's just
But touristy is the wrong word. I never grew up going to fairs like that. We had different fairs in England, and it's like, oh wow, deep fried turkey leg. They do what with Brussels sprouts?
the Brussels sprouts. Oh my god, the Brussels sprouts are so good. It's a lot of fun.
All that stuff.
Yeah. So if you've never been and you're thinking about going for the first time, or you have questions about it, let's start chatting.
Yeah.
We can tell you our Rhinebeck faves and try to convince you to go because it's really great. Okay, well, I think that's
Should we wrap
good.
up?
Yeah, we'll wrap up. Thank you guys so much as always.
watching.
And we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye. Happy knitting.